you've all got in front of you the indictment, because you are the jury today, and your role will be to decide whether or not, on the evidence, that Alex Webber, and this is Alex Webber, who is sitting in the dock. You're not allowed to talk to him during the trial. Whether or not he's guilty of the offences with which he stands charged. There are two witnesses here, and they will be played by Bronte and Maddie, though those are not their names for the purposes of this trial. Enjoy.
Yes, Miss Wilkins.
Members of the jury, I appear on behalf of the prosecution in this case. The defendant is a man named Alex Webber, and he is represented by my learned friend, Miss Bates Brownsword. Members of the jury, this is a case about a footballer assaulting a photographer in a nightclub. In the early hours of the 7th of January, the defendant assaulted photographer Arizona Hunt at Sloane's nightclub in Hatfield. He hauled her out of a swimming pool, dragged her across the room by her arm, before taking her to the floor in a struggle and striking her in the head with a pint glass. The prosecution say he did this because she had violated his privacy, and he lost his temper in response. You all have a copy of the indictment in front of you, and you will see from that Mr. Webber is charged with 2 offences. They are drafted in the alternative. The prosecution bring this case, and the burden is on the prosecution to prove it. To convict Mr. Webber of either the Section 18 wounding with intent or Section 20 unlawful wounding, you must be satisfied so that you are sure of his guilt. Nothing less than being sure will do. On count 1, Mr. Webber is accused of wounding Miss Hunt with intent to cause her grievous bodily harm. By that we mean really serious bodily harm. All you need to know at this stage is that in order to establish guilt, the prosecution must prove that Mr. Webber unlawfully struck Miss Hunt with a pint glass, causing a wound. By wound, we mean breaking of the skin, and in this case, by that I mean a cut to her head, and that he intended to cause her, thus, really serious bodily harm. In this context, unlawfully means not accidentally nor in self-defence. If you are sure that he unlawfully struck her with the pint glass, and that he intended to cause really serious bodily harm, then he would be guilty of count 1, and you would not need to consider the alternative of count 2. However, if you are sure that he acted unlawfully, but you are not sure that he intended to cause really serious bodily harm, you would find him not guilty of count 1 and move to consider count 2. In order to find him guilty of count 2, the prosecution must prove that the wound was the result of an assault by Mr. Webber against Miss Hunt whilst holding a pint glass in his hand, and at the time of causing the wound, he realised that his act might cause some injury, however slight, but went on to take that risk. He acted recklessly. When interviewed by the police, Mr. Webber told them that the injury must have been caused accidentally. He does not have to prove that it was accidental. The prosecution must prove that it was not. Now, what I'm about to tell you is simply an outline of what this case is all about, so that when you hear the evidence from the witnesses and from the agreed facts that will be read to you in due course, you will have a framework to guide you, rather like seeing the picture on a jigsaw box. The evidence will be the pieces that you need to construct that picture. What I tell you now is not evidence itself. At around 11 p.m. on Saturday the 6th of January, Miss Hunt, a freelance press photographer, attended Sloane's nightclub in Hatfield. This was by arrangement with management, who had hired her to take some PR photographs for their new website. This club is well known for its strict policy against cameras and paparazzi, giving its members an exclusive feel. Whilst Miss Hunt was at the club, she became aware that there was a private function taking place in the upstairs of the club, and that players from the De Havilland Football Club were in attendance. The area had been cordoned off and 2 members of staff were manning the entrance. Miss Hunt asked the executive member's concierge, Ms. Gray, who you will hear from in due course, if she could go upstairs to continue taking the promotional photographs. She was told she would have to wait until the end of the function. Moments later, however, someone who Miss Hunt understood to be a member of staff advised her that she could go upstairs, as long as she stayed out of the way of the party. Miss Hunt proceeded to go upstairs where there is a swimming pool area. There she crouched down behind a large ornamental bush and began to set up her camera. It was at this point that a group of 5 to 6 women arrived and placed themselves in her vicinity. She recognised one of these women to be the girlfriend of Mr. Webber. The group of women then spotted Miss Hunt and began verbally abusing her, accusing her of being paparazzi and that she was there to get gossip about them. They proceeded to throw her into the swimming pool. As Miss Hunt began to climb out, she spotted Mr. Webber, who came charging towards her, furious, and hauled her out of the pool. He had been drinking that evening and had a pint glass in his hand. He proceeded to verbally abuse Miss Hunt and accused her of looking for gossip. He dropped her so that she fell to the floor. He then took hold of her left arm and dragged her across the room. He refused to let go of her, despite her pleas. She tried to break free, but he became more angry and yelled, "I'm going to sort you out now." During that struggle, they both ended up on the floor, and Miss Hunt felt a searing pain as something had struck her to the right side of her temple. Mr. Webber had fallen on top of her, but she managed to break free and she bolted for the lift. Outside, Miss Hunt hailed a taxi as she intended to head home, but the taxi driver alerted her to the fact that she was bleeding from her head. At that point, they rerouted and headed to Hatfield University Hospital. Shortly before 3 o'clock in the morning, Miss Hunt was examined by Dr. Shepherd, who found a 2.5 centimetre laceration to the right side temple with a small 3mm shard of broken clear glass. The wound was cleaned and repaired. Unfortunately, the sample of glass was misplaced. The doctor's opinion ultimately was that the injury was consistent with Miss Hunt suffering some form of blunt trauma. At around the same time, Miss Hunt approached 2 police constables who had attended the hospital on an unrelated matter. She gave them the details of what happened. At 8 o'clock in the morning that same day, the 7th of January, Mr. Webber and his solicitor voluntarily attended the police station and provided a prepared statement in interview. In that statement, Mr. Webber said that he was simply escorting Miss Hunt out of the premises whilst he was holding a pint glass in his hand. She struggled and was very difficult to control. He claimed that the injury was caused accidentally and that he would never hit a woman. He was then arrested for wounding with intent to cause grievous bodily harm. I shall be calling 2 witnesses in this case, Miss Hunt and Miss Gray. The arresting officer's statements, the interview, the prepared statement, and also the evidence of the doctor will be read to you by way of agreed facts. Your Honour, if I may call the first witness, Miss Arizona Hunt. Please state your full name to the court.
Arizona Hunt.
Miss Hunt, this is a large room. There are many people who are listening to us today, and it's important that they hear everything that you have to say. So please endeavour to keep your voice up. We'll walk through your evidence nice and slowly. If at any point I ask you a question that you don't understand or you'd like me to repeat, then please do just say so. Miss Hunt, what do you do for a living?
I'm a journalist and a photographer.
And what sort of work does that tend to involve?
So I work for tabloids and I also do freelance work. So it involves, I generally work with celebrities, celebrity stories.
And you said you're a photographer. Do you do sort of freelance photography?
Yeah.
And on the late evening of the 6th of January into the early hours of the 7th of January, it's not in dispute, you attended Sloane's nightclub, is that right? Yeah. And why had you attended the nightclub that evening?
I was asked by management to take PR photos for their new website.
And what time did you arrive there?
It was a long time ago, sorry, I can't quite remember.
Miss Hunt, you have with agreement with my learned friend, I'm going to lead you just through this part of your evidence. It's right that you attended at about 7 o'clock in the evening. Does that sound accurate?
About right, yeah.
You arrived there. With regards to the photographs you were going to take, what were they going to be of in particular?
So it had been refurbished, so the new club, I was hoping to get photos of sort of people just mingling.
Anywhere in particular within the club itself?
No, just all the club, whole club.
We'll get to the layout of the club in a moment. When you first arrived at the club, where were you?
So I started off downstairs, just looking for people to photograph and photograph in the area.
And so you've described there being a downstairs. That implies that there might be more than one level. So could you just describe the layout of the club for us, please?
So downstairs is for normal customers, and there's a private members section upstairs where private events are held.
Were you planning on taking photographs of the upstairs then as well?
Yeah.
And what happened when you tried to access the second floor?
So someone on the door, I think they were called Jackie, I asked if I'd be able to take photographs upstairs, and I was told that I couldn't take photographs by Jackie, but then a few minutes later I found another member of staff and they said not to worry and to go up anyway.
Just break that down slightly. Were you aware of who Jackie was?
No, but I knew that they looked like they worked there.
And did she give you a reason for why you couldn't go upstairs?
Not that I remember.
The second person that you spoke to after Jackie had told you that you weren't permitted to go upstairs because there was an event happening, were they a member of staff?
I thought they were.
And once they'd told you that it was okay to go upstairs, what did you do?
So I went upstairs, and there were 2 rooms upstairs. There was a pool area and a bar area. And the member of staff had told me to stay out the way, so I went into the pool area as no one was there.
With regards to the pool area, what was the lighting like at this particular area of the upstairs?
It was fairly dimly lit.
What distance could you see?
I could see the pool room and the area surrounding the pool.
And whereabouts did you go within the swimming pool area, as it were?
I sat up by a bush in the corner.
Could you describe the bush to us? Was it a small bush? Was it a large bush?
Fairly large bush.
And was there any particular reason why you decided to set up there?
I was told by the member of staff to stay out the way, so I thought it would be more discreet.
And from that vantage point, what was your intention?
Just to take photos of the room and anyone else that came along.
And at this point, when you were setting up, was there anybody else in the room?
No.
So once you've set up the camera, you've positioned yourself, what happens next?
So after that, a group of women come in, and I recognise one of them as the girlfriend of a football player.
How many women were there in total?
I can't quite remember. It was quite a large group.
Whereabouts did they position themselves in relation to you?
They were sat just in front of the bush.
If you could give us a distance, sort of in metres, how far would you say they were from you?
About a metre, if that. Yeah.
What was their demeanour like?
They were quite lively. It was obvious that they had been drinking and that they were having a good time.
And you said that you recognised one of the women. Do you recall who that was?
I believe she's Meredith Wilson.
And you said that she was the partner of somebody. Who was that?
Yeah, I recognised her as the partner of the famous football player, Alex Webber.
What happened after you recognised Meredith?
After I recognised...
Did the women do anything?
They were just drinking. They had champagne come out.
Sorry, my question wasn't particularly helpful in that respect. After you've recognised Meredith, did any of them recognise you?
They did. They couldn't see me at first, but they did find me, and they started screaming and sort of shouting because they didn't know that I was there.
What were they screaming at you?
They were saying things like, "Oh, cheeky bitch, paparazzi scum," just sort of not very nice things.
After they said these things, what did they do next?
They grabbed hold of me and threw me into the pool.
How did you feel about being thrown into the pool?
I was really angry because I had my camera on me at the time, so my camera with all of my work on it went into the pool with me.
You're in the pool, you're understandably frustrated. What do you do next?
So as I tried to get out of the pool, I see Alex Webber running towards me.
Where had he come from?
I think he came from the bar area.
And what was his demeanour like as he came towards you?
He looked really angry. He was quite red.
And what happened when he arrived at you?
He dragged me out the pool and started sort of verbally abusing me.
Pause you there. We're going to break this down nice and clearly so the jury understand the exact order of events. You're in the pool. Were you trying to get out of the pool, or were you still just stood in the pool?
I was still in the pool, but I was making my way to get out of the pool.
And you said he pulled you out of the pool, is that correct? What did he do once he'd pulled you out of the pool?
He was angry. He said things to me. He told me to fuck off.
Pause you there. Was he holding you still at this point? When he'd taken you out of the pool, he started to verbally abuse you?
He dropped me on the floor after I got out of the pool.
And was it then that he started to say these things to you?
As far as I can remember, yeah.
And do you recall what he said?
He told me to fuck off and to go back from where I came, and he asked if I was there to sort of print gossip about them.
When he was saying these things, what was his tone like?
He was really angry.
And how did him saying these things to you make you feel?
I felt really scared because he's quite built, he's tall. I remember him being about 6 foot, so I was quite, I was terrified, really.
After he said these things to you, what happened next?
So he grabbed my arm and tried to drag me towards the lift.
Which arm did he grab?
Sorry, I can't remember. It was a long time ago.
That's fine. Miss Hunt, you've got a copy of your witness statement in front of you. This is a statement that you made on the 7th of January, is that right?
Yeah.
And this statement is signed by you?
Yeah.
That's your signature. And when you made this statement, was it at the first opportunity that you had to make such a statement?
Yeah.
And were the events fresher in your mind then than they are now? I'm going to just take you, bear with me a moment, I'll take you to a specific part of your statement. Bear with me. On the second page of your statement, the last paragraph, which is, I understand is quite a long paragraph, but it's the 8th line down, starting on the left-hand side, where it says which arm it was. Can you just read that for him?
It was the left arm.
Excellent, thank you. So he's grabbed you by the left arm, and what was he trying to do?
Drag me towards the lift.
What level of force was he using?
Quite a lot because my arm was really hurting. So.
As he was dragging you towards the lifts, was he saying anything?
Yeah, he told me that I'd been rumbled and to leave.
About how far did he drag you?
We got quite close to the lift.
And what happened after that?
So I was in pain from where he was grabbing my arm, so there was a bit of a struggle where I was trying to get him to let go of me. And then he said he was going to sort me out, and then...
What was you there? We've established he's dragging you. Was he holding you with one hand or two hands, I should have asked?
One hand, I believe.
Do you know what his other hand was doing? Did you see his other hand?
I think he had a drink in his hand.
And you said there was a bit of a struggle. What would you mean by that?
So because he was grabbing my arm, I was trying to hit his hand to get him to let go of my arm.
Did that work?
No.
So sorry, I interrupted you. There was a struggle, and then what happened?
So he told me he was going to sort me out, and then the next thing I remember, I was on the floor and he was sort of standing over me, and then I felt pain in the back of my head, on the right side of my head.
Whereabouts was it on the side?
Sorry, the right side of my head.
Any particular spot?
I think it was towards the front, actually.
And you said that Mr. Webber was on top of you at this point?
Yeah.
And how were you feeling when you realised what had happened, that you were on the floor, this was the situation?
I was really scared. I mean, the whole thing just kind of got out of hand, and I didn't know if he was going to do anything else to me. So.
And you said you could feel this pain in your head. Do you know how the pain was caused?
No.
And so what happened then?
So after that, one of the members of staff, Jackie, came out of the lift and saw us fighting, and she told us to stop and to both leave.
And what did you do?
So I got up and ran as soon as I could.
Once you got to the lift, then what happened?
Well, after Jackie told us to leave and I ran away, then I called a taxi outside the club.
And when was the last time that you saw Mr. Webber? Or rather, where was the last place you saw him?
When he was standing over me.
And you said that you got a taxi. Yeah. Where were you going to go in the taxi?
I asked the taxi to if I could go home, and then they noticed that I had a cut on my head and asked if I needed to go to the hospital, so we rerouted to the hospital.
It's not in dispute that you went to A&E at Hatfield University Hospital and you received 5 stitches for the cut in your forehead, is that right? Yeah. And it's also not in dispute that when you were at the hospital, you reported the incident to the police officers, PC Bailey and PC Robbins. Ms Hunt, I'm going to ask you now about 2 previous convictions that you have. It's right that you have a previous conviction for fraud dating back to 2013, and another previous conviction for false VAT statements dating back to 2015.
Yeah.
Did they both relate to self-assessment tax returns and VAT returns?
Yes.
And how did you plead to those offences?
I denied the first one initially. I pled guilty to the second one.
But ultimately it's right that you pled guilty to the first one as well.
In the end, yeah. Ms Hunt, I've got no further questions for you, but my learned friend's now going to ask you some questions, so please stay there.
Ms. Hunt, it's right that Mr. Gray had told you that you'd have to wait until the party was over before you could go upstairs, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you've said that a person that you cannot name is the one who gave you permission to go upstairs.
Yeah, but I believe them to be a member of staff.
But you weren't sure that they were a member of staff, were you?
I believe that they were.
So you knew you were not meant to be upstairs at the private party, didn't you?
No. I thought I had permission.
Well, given it was a private party, why didn't you make yourself known to the people in the room that were there?
Because at the time I had been told by the member of staff just to momentarily sort of stay out the way while the party was going on.
Can you please explain to the jury why you then decided to hide in a bush instead?
I'd already set up in the bush before that they came in.
We've heard about your previous convictions. One of them is for keeping £10,000 to yourself instead of to the taxman, isn't it?
Yeah, but it was accidental.
Well, you realised that you were supposed to give that £10,000, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
And you decided to keep it for yourself, didn't you?
At the time I handed in the tax return, I didn't realise. And when I did realise, I didn't say anything because I was going through a difficult period of my life and I needed the money for my divorce.
It was only when you got caught that you decided to do something about it, wasn't it?
In that instance, yes.
And it was the same thing again with your VAT return, wasn't it?
Sorry, are you referring to my second conviction?
Yes, that's right, your second conviction. You kept £15,000 to yourself on that occasion, didn't you?
That was accidental again, but yeah.
Ms. Hunt, is it that you're the type of person who will bend the rules to get their own way,
No,
like you did with those tax returns and VAT returns?
they weren't deliberate. And for my second conviction, as soon as I realised that I made that mistake, it was around the same time that it was picked up by Revenue and Customs, and I admitted to that and offered to give the money back.
Again, only when you got caught.
That was at the same time I realised.
It's the same here, isn't it? You got caught being somewhere you shouldn't have been.
Talk in regards to the club.
Yes, you were caught hiding in a bush taking photographs of people, weren't you?
No, because I believed I had permission to be there.
When you first saw Mr. Webber, he was carrying a pint glass in his hand, wasn't he?
To my knowledge, yeah.
He did not pull you out of the pool, did he?
He did pull me out of the pool.
Because he had one hand holding a pint.
He's managed to pull me out of the pool. He's a big lad.
And when he first spoke to you, he didn't threaten you, did he?
He was verbally abusive. He told me to fuck off.
You were shouting that you had been pushed into the pool, though, weren't you?
I can't remember.
And the other women were saying that you had been spying on them.
I hadn't been spying on them.
And they were also saying that you tripped into the pool, weren't they?
I don't believe they said that because they pushed me into the pool.
But at that point in time, you were quite frustrated, weren't you, though? Because your camera had been broken.
After I was pushed into the pool, yeah, I was frustrated.
And it was Mr. Webber who said to you, "Look, love, you've been rumbled. Turn in and leave now."
He said that, yeah.
And then he also said to you, "Listen, I'm going to escort you out and you will go downstairs now."
No, I don't remember him saying that.
And he then began to usher you towards the lifts, didn't he?
No, he dragged me by my arm.
You at first complied with being ushered to the lift, didn't you? You walked by yourself. He didn't have to grab you.
He dragged me to the lift. I didn't want to go with him. I was scared of him.
And you then became more argumentative and you were refusing to leave the area.
That's not true.
And you were still upset about your camera, weren't you?
I was upset about my camera, but that wasn't part of our encounter.
And it was only when you refused to leave that Mr. Webber took you by the arm, wasn't it?
No.
And that's when he said to you, "We can sort this out downstairs, but you are going downstairs now."
I don't remember him saying that.
After he had tried to usher you calmly, and then because you refused, grabbed you by the arm, that's when you decided to pull away from him. That's right, isn't it?
He didn't usher me out calmly. He was dragging me by the arm and I was in pain from it.
But you accept that you used your fist to hit him, didn't you?
I didn't have a closed fist. I did try and hit his arm, so he'd let go of my arm.
And you also tried to kick him in the leg, didn't you?
I kicked him in the shin, yeah.
At this point in time, you were also looking back towards the women who you'd been arguing with, weren't you?
I do remember that.
Because they were laughing at you, weren't they?
They might have been.
And because you were turning around, hitting him, kicking him in the shin, that's why you fell to the floor, isn't it?
No.
It's possible, though, isn't it, that kicking to the shin could have tripped him up?
No.
You were struggling angrily, and that's why the two of you fell over, though.
I don't believe so, no.
But it is possible, isn't it, Miss Hunt, that you injured yourself accidentally by pulling him down with you?
He's strong, and I don't think that... I can't remember how I got to the floor. I don't have any recollection of me dragging him down to the floor, and I don't believe that I would have been able to physically.
And when he fell on you, he got up off you immediately, didn't he?
I don't think so, not immediately.
And there was broken glass already on the floor, wasn't there?
I don't know.
At no point did Mr. Webber deliberately strike you with any glass in his hand, did he?
I can't remember.
And any injury could have been an accident from you falling down.
He did have a glass in his hand, and I know that my injury was inflicted by a glass, so I don't remember exactly how the injury happened because I only remember being on the floor.
Those are all my questions for you, Miss Hunt.
Miss Hunt, thank you very much. We've got no further questions for you. So if you take a seat,
Thank you.
And I'll call my next witness, Jackie Gray. Please state your full name for the court.
Jackie Gray.
Ms. Gray, this is a large courtroom, and there's a lot of people here who need to hear what you have to say, so please do remember to keep your voice up. We're going to take you slowly through your evidence. If at any time I ask you a question you don't understand, or that you'd like me to repeat, then please do just say. Ms. Gray, what is your occupation?
I work at Sloan Entertainment Limited as an executive member's concierge
And where exactly do you work for them?
in Hatfield.
And that's at the Sloan nightclub, is that correct?
Yes.
And what sort of nightclub is it?
Our nightclub is open to the public on the downstairs as a regular nightclub. However, our second floor is for private parties and bookings and VIPs, especially celebrities.
So is the second floor, would you describe it as being an exclusive area?
Yes, definitely.
And you said members have access to that area.
Yes, only our staff and members have access.
And what is this area typically used for?
It's typically used for gatherings and parties, etc.
And you say this is an exclusive area. How is that exclusivity maintained?
We have our sort of doormen to guard the area upstairs.
And as only members and staff are allowed, presumably that means that non-members aren't allowed into that area at all?
Not at all, no.
Taking you to the 6th of January, were you working that evening?
Yes, I was.
And which area were you working in?
I was sort of working all over the place, but then I went into my office to count the cash of one of the tills.
Were there any events going on at the club that evening?
There was, yes.
And where was that happening?
That was happening on the second floor.
Whose party was it, or whose event was it?
Owen Avery.
And do you know who he is?
Yes, well, I know that he's linked to De Havilland Athletic Football Club.
Were you aware that on this particular evening a photographer was due to attend?
Yes, I found out earlier on, and I tried to change the timings, but unfortunately I was unsuccessful in that.
And why was it you wanted to change the timing?
Because we have a very, very strict policy against photographers and paparazzi and any sort of contact.
What was it you understood Miss Hunt's role to be that evening as the photographer?
She was there to sort of take marketing photos.
And when did you see her that evening?
I saw her sort of later on in the evening. However, the party upstairs was still continuing.
What do you mean by however the party upstairs was still continuing?
She wanted to go upstairs, and I told her that under no circumstances was she to go over there and up there, and she had to wait until it was finished.
And when you said this to her, how did she respond?
She agreed.
Were you aware of any other member of staff speaking to Miss Hunt?
No, not at all.
You said a moment ago that you were in your office doing the books, I think you said. Moving to later in the evening, to approximately 1:15 in the morning, you became aware of an incident upstairs.
Yes, I was paged.
How did you respond to being paged?
I went upstairs immediately.
And on arrival upstairs, first of all, how did you get upstairs?
I actually cannot remember. It was a while ago.
If I can, if I can lead on this, you took the lift upstairs.
Yes, yes.
And when the lift opened, what could you see?
All I could see was a man and a woman with people sort of jeering at them, and they were walking towards the lifts.
Did you recognise the man and the woman?
Yes, I only recognised the man at the time, and I recognised him to be Alex Webber. He was a well-known member of the football club.
And when you first saw them, how far from you were they?
I was about 100 metres away.
And what could you see that they were doing, or what, if anything, were they doing?
I could just see the man sort of walking with the woman, holding on to her.
You say he was holding on to her. How was he holding on to her?
It didn't look originally too aggressive, but that seemed to progress.
We'll come to that. What was their... I appreciate you were some distance away from them, but could you tell what their demeanour was like?
Very aggressive, in the sense that it looked like Mr. Webber was leading her out, and it didn't look like they were too happy with each other.
And what happened next?
I just see the woman was sort of dripping wet, so I seen that she'd gone into the pool, but I wasn't sure how. As I said, I didn't see that part of the incident. I was called to it, and I just sort of see that Miss Hunt sort of got more aggressive and swung a kick at Mr. Webber.
And how did Mr. Webber respond to being kicked?
He retaliated, and he seemed to get angrier then.
And did he do anything in retaliation?
I didn't see that, no.
Ms. Gray, you made a statement to the police on the evening of the 7th of January. You've got it in front of you, I believe. That's your signature on the statement. Yes. Did you make the statement at the earliest opportunity?
Yes, when I was asked to, I did.
And was your memory better then than it is now?
Yes.
Can I take you to the second page, please, of your statement, and to the second paragraph down, and it's the fifth line, and it starts with looked like. If you could just read the end of that sentence.
I'm so sorry. I've just realised I only have the first page in front of me.
That's fine. I'm going to suggest to you that what it says in your statement then, as I have a copy, is that you said, and then it looked like Alex Webber pushed the woman back. Does that?
Yes, that is right.
Fine. At this stage, can you describe the conditions, the lighting conditions?
They were well lit.
What was your vision like?
Well, I could see them rather clearly. I couldn't hear what was happening. I could just, because the music was very loud.
And once you've seen this exchange between these two people, what happens next?
I then see them fall over and fall to the ground, and I hear Miss Arizona cry out. At this point, I'd already started running over, and I was about 25 metres away.
You've made some distance by that point. How was your view of the scene when you got that bit closer?
It was fairly clear.
You said that they'd fall into the ground. What position were they in now that they'd come to the floor?
Mr. Webber was on top of Miss Hunt, and I shout out at them to sort of sort it out, and he immediately gets off of her.
And did you notice anything about Miss Hunt? Or she was...
Yes, she was bleeding.
What did both parties do next?
I ran over to Miss Hunt to go and give first aid as she got up and darted into the lift as it opened.
Was that the last time you saw her that evening?
Yes, it was.
And what about Mr. Webber? What did he do?
Mr. Webber just sat there as he then said, "What the hell just happened there?"
Taking a step back, you've now arrived at the scene where the parties last were together, where they had this fall to the ground. Did you see how they came to fall to the ground?
No, I did not.
After the incident itself, Miss Hunt has left, Mr. Webber sat on the floor. What did you do next?
I sort of conducted an investigation to myself, but originally I started clearing up the glass as I realised that she'd been bleeding because of that.
What glass?
I couldn't tell. I cleaned it up just to try and help, sort of make sure that nobody else got hurt.
Where was this glass? Describe the scene for the jury.
It was all over the floor. I don't know how it got there, and I don't know what it was, but I just noticed that it was all over the floor.
And do you recall what colour the glass was?
No, I don't.
And if I've understood correctly, you cleared up the glass,
Yes.
and that was the end of it.
Yes.
I've got no further questions, but my learned friend will no doubt have some for you, so please bear with us.
Mr. Gray, you weren't expecting to see Miss Hunt upstairs, were you?
No, I wasn't.
And that's because you told her not to go upstairs, hadn't you?
I had, yes.
Staff that work upstairs, is it right that you have to get them to sign a confidentiality agreement?
Yes, that's correct. They aren't, they're sort of on a agreement that they cannot say what happened there or who was there.
And when you first saw her upstairs, you saw Miss Hunt and noticed she was wet, is that right? And you also saw Mr. Webber, who was by Miss Hunt. Is it right to say at first they weren't touching each other?
It didn't look like it from my angle.
But is it right that it did look to you like they were arguing?
Yes.
And there were also some women there, and did it look to you like they were laughing or jeering?
Yes, everyone was sort of jeering on, but especially at the women.
And at that point you saw Miss Hunt become more animated, would you agree
Yes.
with that? And by that do you mean angry?
Yes, I sort of getting more riled up, in other words.
And it was then at that point that Mr. Webber took Miss Hunt by the arm to move towards the lift.
I cannot remember entirely.
But you do remember a point where Miss Hunt was trying to break free from Mr. Webber, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And it's fair to say you couldn't hear what was going on because it was loud.
Yes, the music was very loud.
So you can't assist us with who was saying what at this point. But you yourself, you were trying to get towards them.
Yes.
The first thing you saw in terms of an escalation was Miss Hunt take a swing at Mr. Webber.
Yes, she swung a kick at him.
And it looked to you that Mr. Webber was pushing her away, is that right?
Yes, he was steering towards the lift.
But that was after you saw Miss Hunt hit him.
Yes.
And this was when you were starting to intervene and trying to get them to stop.
Yes, I was calling over.
And still again, you recognised that it was Miss Hunt that was getting more angry.
Yes, notably it was Miss Hunt.
And between the two of them, it was clear that there was beginning to be a struggle. Would you say that's a fair assessment of what you saw?
Yes, I would.
And they suddenly both fell to the floor.
Yes.
Mr. Webber, you said, immediately got off Miss Hunt, and Miss Hunt ran off.
Yes.
And the first thing you heard Mr. Webber say, could you please just remind us of what that was?
Yes, it was, what the hell just happened there?
Just bear with me one moment. It's fair to say what you saw was Mr. Webber pulling Miss Hunt away from the angry, jeering group of women that were there by the pool.
Yes.
And did you see Mr. Webber holding a pint glass?
No, I didn't.
You were the first to clear up the scene, but you noticed there was lots of glass all over the floor.
Yes.
And in your experience of hosting these private events, is it quite normal to find glass on the floor after a party? But you cleared that away so customers wouldn't be harmed.
Yes.
And lastly, Mr. Gray, just assist us with this. Was there CCTV operating that night?
Normally we would have CCTV operating. However, on the night of the incident, it was faulty, so unfortunately there was no recording.
I don't have any more questions for you, Mr. Gray.
Members of the jury, I'm now going to read to you a series of facts that are agreed between both parties. First of all, you're going to hear about the medical evidence, which I summarised in my opening speech to you, but just as a reminder that Miss Hunt attended the accident and emergency department at Hatfield University Hospital in the early hours of the morning. She was shortly seen before 3 o'clock by Dr. Margaret Shepherd. Dr. Shepherd noted a 2.5 centimetre laceration to the right side of her temple. The wound was not deep and it was largely superficial. In her opinion, it was consistent with suffering a blunt force trauma to that region. Dr. Shepherd found a small shard of glass in the wound, approximately 3 millimetres in length, which suggested a glass object had been used. There was also some minor bruising starting to develop around the edge of the wound. Dr. Shepherd sutured and cleaned the wound. The glass was removed, but unfortunately it was disposed of in error. As regards the evidence of PC Bailey, PC Ben Bailey was at the University Hospital in the early hours of the morning with his colleague PC Robbins on an unrelated matter when they were approached by Miss Hunt, who reported an assault by Miss Webber on her. They noted the injury to her head and took her details. Later that morning, at approximately 8 a.m, PC Bailey was called to the front desk at Hatfield Police Station, as Mr. Webber had attended with his solicitor, Miss Miranda Kepner. PC Bailey was informed that Mr. Webber wanted to make a statement regarding an incident that morning at Sloane's nightclub. As regards the interview, PCs Bailey and Robbins conducted the interview between 8:06 and 8:20 in the morning. This interview was tape recorded. Mr. Webber's solicitor was present. Mr. Webber was cautioned at the outset of that interview. The words of the caution are as follows: "You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned something which you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be used in evidence." The caution was explained to Mr. Webber and he confirmed that he understood it. His solicitor indicated that Mr. Webber would be answering no comment to questions in an interview, and instead she read a prepared statement on his behalf, which I will summarise as follows. Mr. Webber said that he had attended a private party at Sloane's nightclub in Hatfield. It was the 40th wedding anniversary of one of the members of the football club staff. He attended with his girlfriend Meredith Wilson. At around 1 a.m, he went to the roof terrace to see Meredith. He could hear a commotion as he came up the stairs. He ran to the scene. On arriving at the pool, he learned that the photographer, Arizona Hunt, had been found hiding in a bush with a camera and listening to a private conversation. Miss Hunt was animated about being pushed into the pool and that her camera would be broken. Mr. Webber said to her, "Look, love, you've been rumbled, turn it in and leave now." He started to usher her towards the lifts. She complied at first and then started to argue and became agitated. He took hold of her arm and said, "We can sort this out downstairs, but you are going downstairs now." She was trying to pull away from him as he was escorting her. She was hard to control, and the next thing he knew, they were on the floor. He was on top of her. He assumes that in the struggle she lost her balance and pulled them both down. He had been holding a pint glass during this time, and so as he fell, he may have struck her accidentally. He never meant to injure anyone. He abhors violence and would certainly not deliberately hit a woman. That was the end of his statement. And finally, you've heard from Miss Hunt that she does have 2 previous convictions. These date back to 2013 and 2015. The first was for fraud, the second was for providing a false statement for VAT purposes, and she pleaded guilty to both of these offences. Your Honour, that is the case for the prosecution.
Your Honour, could we please call Mr. Webber? Mr. Webber, could you please state your full name for the court?
Yes, it's Alex Webber.
And that's right, you're here to give evidence about events that happened at the Sloane Private Members Club. How did that evening first begin for you?
Well, we all went to Sloane's. This was after a match, and it was the team and then the wives and girlfriends, and yeah, it was a nice night. You know, it was good.
Where were you when you first became aware of trouble?
I was in the well, I was coming out of the bar, of not the bar area, the kind of the VIP area which leads into the rooftop terrace, and I was coming up the stairs to the rooftop terrace when I heard, you know.
You said you'd been at the bar. What have you been drinking?
I'd been drinking beer, London Pride.
And in terms of drinking, what state would you say you were in?
I would say I was merry. I wasn't drunk. Like, you know, I can hold my drink. I'd had a few pints, a bit of champagne, but you know, we weren't going mad that night or anything.
You've said to the jury you'd come from the bar area, and is it right you were moving out to the terrace?
Yes. Yeah.
What did you first see?
As I came out, I saw a woman I didn't know getting out of the swimming pool, and I saw my girlfriend and some other of her friends all pointing and laughing, and there was just something going on. You know, there was a bit of shouting. And
What were you first aware was being said between these two groups?
I wasn't really particularly aware. I could tell that, I mean, you know, it was pretty obvious. She had a camera around her neck. We have a lot of problems with paparazzi. It was pretty obvious what was going on.
Just pausing it, were you expecting there to be anyone with a camera there that evening?
No, it's pretty good, Sloane's. Like, we go there a lot, and part of the reason we go there is because, you know, you're not going to get troubled by paparazzi.
So you told the jury you saw she had a camera. At first you weren't sure what was being said, but did there come a point where you became aware of what had happened?
Yeah, I pieced it together, and you know, they were shouting at her, and she was shouting back at them, and I worked out what, you know, it didn't take a genius to work out what was going on.
Do you remember what they were shouting at each other?
Can I refer to my statement?
Well, no, Mr. Webber, you wouldn't have a statement. What do you remember them shouting? If you don't remember, that's fine.
I don't really remember. I mean, you know, the usual sort of thing, like, but no, I don't really remember exactly.
What was your first interaction then with Miss Hunt?
My first interaction was, once I'd worked out who she was, I said, was the effect of like, you've been rumbled, and started, you know, ushering her towards the lift, like it was time for her to go. Clearly, she wasn't going to start taking photos of us now, was she?
And can you just clarify us, what did you mean by you've been rumbled?
As in, she was there hiding as a paparazzi, trying to, you know, sneak up and get photos of everyone, while they were just having a nice time, and yeah.
And how did you know she'd been hiding?
Oh, they had been shouting that. I mean, I think I must have worked that out by that point. I don't know, but...
Did you know how she ended up in the pool?
No. I mean, I found out later, but, like, yeah, I wasn't aware of it at the time.
What did you find out later?
That she slipped. That's what Meredith said.
You've heard Miss Hunt give evidence. She says you pulled her out of the pool. Did you pull her out of the pool?
No, I didn't.
You've told the jury, you said to her you've been rumbled. How did you then proceed with Miss Hunt?
Well, I ushered her towards the lift, and it was fine at first, and then she started getting kind of sort of antsy, and then I took her arm because she was sort of hanging back and shouting about her camera, and yeah, and then that's when it all kind of kicked off.
Did you say anything to her at that point?
Yeah, I probably said, I think my main idea at the time was, you know, she was obviously annoyed. I didn't know exactly what happened, but I didn't want her to be upstairs because, you know, it was Owen's special night. So I wanted to get her away from that. It was all getting horrible. I thought I'll get her downstairs, you know, we can work it out. You know, if need be, I can pay for the camera. Like if it's our fault or whatever, like it's not a problem. So I was just saying, you know, let's go downstairs, let's get out of here, that kind of thing, words to that effect.
You mentioned you took her arm. How did you take her arm?
I just kind of took her arm and led her. But then, like, I grabbed her arm because she started to get a bit kind of, well, angry and sort of trying to get back, and you know, it was just, and I was trying to get her out of there, basically. You know, I wanted to.
Just pausing there, you've heard from Ms. Hunt. She says you grabbed her arm forcefully. Did you do that?
No, not forcefully.
And after you grabbed her arm, what, if anything, did Ms. Hunt do?
She started going a bit mad. She started like shouting more, and then she started prodding me, and then she started hitting me.
Where did she hit you?
On my hand.
Was there anywhere else that she hit you?
Maybe. I think she was going a bit mad, and then she kicked me as well.
Where did she kick you?
Sorry?
Where did she kick you?
She kicked me on my shin.
We've heard that there came a point where you fell to the floor, the two of you. How do you describe falling to the floor?
I don't really remember. It was all a bit of a blur. It happened very quickly. She was sort of, you know, she was pulling around and that kind of thing, and I think both of us tripped, or one of us tripped and pulled the other one, and it wasn't clear. But it certainly was an accident. And next thing I knew, I was on the floor on top of her, so I immediately got off. And then I saw she was bleeding, but that, you know, it wasn't me. I didn't push her. I didn't, you know, whatever.
Did you deliberately smash a bottle or pint glass over her head at any point? Did you deliberately pull her to the floor at any point?
Nope.
And after you noticed her head was bleeding, what did you see Ms. Hunt do next?
What did I see Miss Hunt do next? Well, she got up and ran to the lift. And that was the last I saw of her that night.
It's right, you went to the police station the next day and you did a prepared statement and you chose to answer no comment to all questions from the police. Why was it you answered no comment to the questions the police asked you?
Because that's what my solicitor told me to do.
Thank you, Mr. Webber. If you just wait there, please.
Mr. Webber, being a footballer at a major club, such as the De Havilland Football Club, can attract a lot of media attention, can't it? These days, it's fair to say that being a successful football player is more than just about football. It's also about being part of the limelight. Would you agree that the media is often, or can often be, quite obsessed with our football players?
Yeah.
And regardless of whether you want that sort of attention, it follows you around, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I can imagine it can be quite relentless, being constantly followed by paparazzi who want to take photos of everything you do.
I mean, yeah, it's annoying, but it's part of the job.
So it can be quite nice then to have a break from all of that, can't it?
Yeah, that's why we go to Sloane's.
And as you said, they have a strict policy, don't they, against cameras and paparazzi, and so you can relax there, as you were doing on the evening of the 6th, 7th of January. I'm going to suggest that you could relax because you knew that your privacy was protected effectively by the club.
Yeah.
You were relaxing, you had a few drinks, you said you were merry, and you've been drinking pints, is that right?
Yeah.
And in fact, you had a pint glass in your hand as you went upstairs to find Meredith, is that right?
Yeah, I was sort of the end of a pint, basically.
But you had the glass in your hand. Yeah. So we know you were having a good evening. So far, so good. It's been a success. That evening was disrupted by the presence of Miss Hunt, wasn't it?
Yeah.
She put a sour end to what had otherwise been a good evening for you.
Yeah, I'd call it that, yeah.
The last thing you expected to see, actually, at Sloane's was paparazzi.
Yeah.
You weren't particularly happy to see her, is that fair?
Yeah, I wasn't happy, but I wasn't fuming or whatever. It's just something you deal with, isn't it?
But, is it fair to say that you were frustrated by the fact that there was a member of the paparazzi at the club?
Yeah, frustrated, bit bored, bored by the constant attention, whatever. But yeah, but nothing mad.
Miss Hunt had been accused of spying on your girlfriend and her friends. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's what she was doing.
That's what you were told she was doing.
Well, I mean, she was hiding behind a bush.
You didn't see her hiding behind the bush, though, did you?
No.
Is it fair to say you're quite protective of your girlfriend?
Yeah, ish, like anyone.
And you want to protect her privacy as well as your own?
Yeah, I mean, I chose this job, but, she's my girlfriend. Yeah, of course I'm going to protect her, yeah.
And before you arrive at the scene, you see Miss Hunt, you see your girlfriend and her friends. And before you go over to Miss Hunt, you didn't ask anyone if Miss Hunt had actually taken any photos, did you?
I didn't need to. I mean, she had a camera and they were all shouting at her.
But you didn't know what Miss Hunt's purpose was at the club that evening, did you?
Well, they were shouting paparazzi and stuff like that, and it's obvious, isn't it? If you see someone with a camera, what are they there for? They're not there to water the bush.
Well, she was there to take promotional photographs. You didn't know that, though, did you?
I didn't know that was, but she wasn't there. She wasn't where she was to take promotional photographs, was she?
Miss Webb, I'm going to remind you that it's my job to ask the questions and your job to answer them.
Sorry.
You've got no idea what Miss Hunt was doing there, what her role was that evening.
No.
You've made an assumption that she's there to spy on your girlfriend and you as partygoers, but you weren't clear on why she was there.
Yeah, I think it's a fair assumption, though.
You didn't give Miss Hunt an opportunity to explain what she was doing, did you?
Well, that's why I was taking her downstairs.
But you didn't at any point ask her.
No, well, she was shouting, and you can't. I was going to wait till she calmed down and then sort all this matter out.
But you didn't actually get an opportunity to let her explain her version of events, did you?
No, I mean, she could have done if she'd calmed down, but she wasn't calm. She was shouting.
Mr. Webber, I'm going to suggest that when you went over to the pool, you hauled her out of it.
Well, no, I had a pint glass in my hand, and I might be strong, but that's quite hard to do if you've ever pulled someone out of a pool. You can't just do it, one-handed.
Mr. Webber, I'm going to suggest to you that you called her a filthy little slag. And you said to her, why don't you fuck off back under that rock where you came from? You're here looking for gossip on all of us.
I did not say that.
And then you proceeded to drop her in a heap on the floor, didn't you?
No, I wasn't holding her, so I couldn't drop her.
Mr. Webber, you said to this jury mere moments ago in your evidence in chief that you grabbed her arm. In your prepared statement, to the police, you said that you merely ushered her towards the lift. You didn't mention the fact that you grabbed her arm.
Later I did. Well, I was holding her arm, I was ushering her. I probably had a hand on her back, I can't remember, but and then she started hitting me, and then I got her arm, but I didn't get it hard. I wasn't crushing her or anything like that. I was just trying to get the situation cleaned up as quickly as possible so we could actually have a nice evening.
Ms. Webber, I'm focusing on what you said to the police in your prepared statement, and what you said was that you ushered her towards the lift. That's right, isn't it? Yeah. You said in your evidence that you grabbed her arm. You accept grabbing her arm. And in your police statement, your prepared statement, I'm going to suggest that you were downplaying your actions, weren't you?
No.
Well, you didn't tell the police that you grabbed her by the arm.
Well, I was ushering her. I mean, I held her by the arm. It's the same thing, isn't it? I wasn't. She said forcefully. I wasn't doing it forcefully.
Mr. Webber, you're trying to downplay your actions now to the jury, aren't you?
No.
You were forcibly escorting her to the lift.
I wasn't forcibly escorting her. She was walking with me.
You had a tight hold on her arm.
I had her by the arm.
In fact, you were holding her so tightly that she was trying to break free of your grasp.
That's not true.
You accepted in your evidence that she was trying to get away from you. She'd hit your hand, she tried to kick you.
Yes, she did, yeah.
Because she was trying to escape your grasp.
No. She was shouting about the camera and kicking me.
Ms. Webber, I'm going to suggest she was pleading for you to let go of her.
That's not true.
And you didn't let go, did you?
No, I had her by the arm. I was trying to get her away from the situation. I wasn't, grabbing her and then throwing her around or anything like that. I had her by the arm. Not forcefully, just walking her.
In your prepared statement, you said to the police that you abhor violence.
Yeah.
But this was violent behaviour by you, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't violent behaviour. It wasn't violent. I wasn't the one kicking. I wasn't the one hitting. I was not being violent.
You maintained your grasp on her despite the fact she asked you to let go.
She didn't ask me to let go.
She was testing your patience, wasn't she, Mr. Hunt? Mr. Webber?
Yeah, but I can hold my patience.
You were becoming embarrassed. This was happening in front of your girlfriend and all of her friends.
No, I don't get embarrassed
You
by that
couldn't
kind of thing.
control this woman.
No, I don't get embarrassed by that kind of thing. I was trying to sort out a tricky problem, a tricky situation, and I was going to take her downstairs and work out what had happened. But she wasn't going to be up there. That was clear enough.
She was resisting you, and that was making you angry, wasn't it?
No, I wasn't angry.
By your own admission, you accept saying to her, you've been rumbled, turn it in now. You also said to her, I'm going to sort you out now.
Nope. I might have said I'm going to escort you out. That's not the same thing.
If we think about your positioning and what you were doing, you accept you had one hand on her, and in the other hand you had a pint glass. We've got to the stage now where there's a bit of a struggle between the two of you, that's fair to say, isn't it?
Yeah, it was just after she started hitting me and things.
She wanted to break free, you weren't letting go.
No, that's not how it went.
Doing all of this in a tussle such as this, which is quite physical by the sounds of it, holding a pint glass in your hand at the same time can be a bit risky, can't it?
Well, what was I meant to do? Just drop it?
Well, you could have injured her with the glass, couldn't you? You're fighting, the two of you are
I
tussling
wasn't the one
together.
starting this. I wasn't doing this. I was trying to get her to go downstairs, which is where she was meant to be.
But you were engaging with it, weren't you? You were being equally physical back to her.
No. I wasn't. I didn't kick her. I didn't hit her.
You said that what were you supposed to do with the glass? We were supposed to drop it. You could have put it down to one side. You could have put it out of harm's way.
Well, there was nowhere to put it. I mean, it wasn't like, I was walking her towards the lift.
When you were stood by the lifts, which is where this struggle ultimately comes to an end, you could suggest there was broken glass on the floor.
There might have been, yeah.
You proceeded at this point to take her down to the floor, didn't you? You're bigger and stronger than her?
Well, yes, I am bigger and stronger than her, but I didn't proceed to take her down. I mean,
I'm going to suggest that you deliberately did exactly that.
look, if I was actually in a fight with someone, which I'm not, and I wouldn't be because I'm not violent, but if I was, I wouldn't body slam them onto the ground. Like, that's not a thing you do.
It must have occurred to you that by doing this, you might have caused her injury.
I didn't do anything.
This assault ended by you striking Miss Hunt in the head with a pint glass.
No. When was I? No, I did not do that.
Once you were on the floor, it's right that you were on top of Miss Hunt initially, weren't you?
Yes, that's right.
And you could see blood coming from her.
Yeah, but not much. I mean, I could see that she had like a gash on her head.
You didn't try to help her with the injury, did you?
She ran away. I was just in shock at what had happened. It was all over in a flash.
You didn't go after her to check that she was okay?
No, but there was a whole club. I mean, she dived into the lift.
You let her leave with a head injury.
It was a full club full of people. Like, I didn't want to see one more moment of her. It wasn't anything to do with me. What was I meant to do? Run after her? That wouldn't have made things better, would it?
Mr. Webber, I've got no further questions, thank you.
Nothing further from Mr. Webber. That's the end of the defence case. Thank you.
Members of the jury, you've now heard all the evidence in this case. What I want you to remember in what I'm about to say to you is that the burden of proving this case rests on the prosecution. In order to convict Mr. Webber of either of these offences, either count 1 or count 2, you must be satisfied so that you are sure of his guilt. As I said at the start, nothing less than being sure will do. His Honour will go through the law in a moment in more detail, but I do just want to take a moment to revisit and reflect on some of the evidence that you've heard through the course of this trial. And with that evidence, I suggest you'll want to consider it when determining your verdicts this evening. The first point I want to make is this. I suggest to you that you shouldn't get distracted by Miss Hunt's previous convictions. She held her hands up with regards to both of them and accepted her guilt. She was given, the defence might suggest that she's somebody who bends the rules to her will. But members of the jury, you heard her evidence. Her evidence was that a member of staff, or someone she believed to be staff, she had no reason not to believe that they were staff, gave her permission to go upstairs to the members' area. You might think it would be unreasonable to expect her to carry out some checks or try to verify who the person was that she spoke to, when on the face of it, her understanding was that they were a member of staff. And also recall the evidence that she gave that Miss Hunt accepted being told she couldn't go up there initially by Miss Gray. She didn't take issue with this, so why would she deliberately try to bend the rules? With regards to the evidence of Mr. Webber, he accepted in evidence just moments ago that he's protective of not only his privacy, but also of his girlfriend. And so to be confronted with paparazzi was the last thing he wanted on that evening. Particularly so when he was at a club which prides itself on having a no camera, no paparazzi policy. He accepted that he was frustrated by this interruption to his evening and his perceived invasion of privacy. Remember that he didn't give her an opportunity, he didn't give Miss Hunt an opportunity to explain why she was there, what was her purpose. Perhaps if he'd have done that, things might have gone a different way. You might think that his demeanour is relevant in this. You heard from Miss Hunt that he was angry, he was red-faced when he approached her, and how he grabbed her forcibly, not pausing to listen to her, nor listen to her pleas for him to let go of her. He just ignored her. Mr. Webber accepted he'd been drinking and that he had a pint glass in his hand throughout this struggle. You might think he was acting recklessly by doing so. You heard from Miss Gray that there was glass all over the floor where he was struggling with Miss Hunt. This did not deter Mr. Webber, the prosecution say, from deliberately taking Miss Hunt down to the ground. The defence may try to suggest that Miss Hunt was the aggressor in this situation, but you might consider that she was understandably frustrated after having her camera ruined by being thrown into the pool. But ultimately remember this, that you heard the evidence from Miss Gray that after Miss Hunt tried to break free and hit and kicked Mr. Webber pushed her back and then he proceeded to grab her by her arm. Throughout this incident, there is evidence that Mr. Webber used force against Miss Hunt. He hauled her out of the pool, he dragged her across the room, he was assaulting her. Remember what he said about abhorring violence. You may think that his actions contradict this statement that he made to the police, and you might think that that is significant. Mr. Webber accepts, effectively evolving his evidence from simply ushering Miss Hunt out to taking her forcibly by the arm. You may want to consider why he would downplay his evidence to the police. The prosecution suggests it was because he knew he'd done more than simply just usher her out, and he didn't want to get caught for what he'd actually done. Similarly, you may think that him voluntarily attending the police station before the incident had become public knowledge was Mr. Webber doing damage control, trying to flip the narrative, as it were, minimising the seriousness of what he'd done. And lastly, members of the jury, on noticing that Miss Hunt had been injured, she had this cut to her head, she was visibly bleeding, Mr. Webber didn't help her. He let her leave. You might think if he'd done nothing wrong, if this had been a genuine accident, if he had been innocent, he would have checked that she was okay. He would have tried to go after her. He didn't do either of those things, and again, you might think that that is significant. Taking all of this into account, I submit you can be sure of Mr. Webber's guilt of count 1 in this case, that he deliberately struck her with a pint glass, and I invite you to find him guilty of that offence. However, if you feel that you cannot be sure that he intended to cause her really serious bodily harm, I submit you can be sure of his guilt of the alternative offence, the lesser count, count 2. You can be sure that he unlawfully wounded Miss Hunt when either he foresaw a risk created by the fact he was holding a pint glass whilst assaulting her and taking her to the ground, or because of the risk he foresaw given the glass that was on the floor, again, when he took her to the ground, regardless of the risk. Members of the jury, thank you for your time and your consideration in this case.
Well, members of the jury, you've heard it now a number of times. It's the prosecution that bring this case and the prosecution that must make you sure. But what does sure mean? You can use examples from your own life. For example, if you were going to put money on something, if you were going to buy an expensive house, put all your savings on it, you would want to be sure before you did that, wouldn't you? If it's sure, you'll walk away and you'll never think about this ever again. And count 1, that's the section 18, that's intent to cause really serious harm. I urge you to conclude that you cannot be sure at all that there was a deliberate blow, whether it was with a bottle or with a glass. You cannot be sure on the evidence that you've heard that Mr. Webber intended to cause really serious harm. Think of the evidence you've heard. You've heard medical evidence. The wound was largely superficial. It's consistent with whether it was a fall to the floor or not. It's consistent with there being glass already on the floor. And it's also a wound that lacks the severity, you might think, that would constitute intent. In other words, it's not a wound consistent with someone deliberately smashing a glass on someone's head. Think as well about what Mr. Webber said to Mr. Gray at the scene. What the hell's happened here? That's not a statement that is consistent with someone intending to cause really serious harm. Members of the jury, when considering what someone intends, look at their words, look at their conduct before, during, and after the event. And in my submission to you, there is nothing in Mr. Webber's conduct that confirms that he had the intent to cause really serious harm. Therefore, you cannot be sure that there was any weapon used or that he intended to cause the level of injury, let alone very serious injury, which the Crown are saying he did. I'll move then on to count 2, which is the alternative, section 20. Mr. Webber was acting reasonably in escorting the angry Ms. Hunt away from the scene. He was not unlawfully assaulting her, and in any event, he did not or could not have thought that he was creating a risk of injury by having a pint glass in his hand while escorting her out of the building. The bottom line is here, members of the jury, you cannot rule out that this wasn't an accident. I've pointed out to you already, think about the evidence you've heard. Is Ms. Hunt a credible, reliable witness? It's clear that she went to the top floor when she knew she shouldn't have, and you might think she is someone who is prepared to bend the rules when it suits her. But ultimately, members of the jury, this isn't about preferring one person's account over another. You must be sure, and that would mean you have to be sure on her evidence. You can't be sure because even Miss Hunt isn't sure how she fell to the ground. She couldn't explain it to you. She accepts that she was pushing against Mr. Webber. She accepts she kicked him in the shin, that she hit him. Mr. Gray also saw a tussle and a sudden fall to the floor. Again, consistent with accident. Mr. Gray's evidence also further supports Mr. Webber's account. Miss Hunt says that there was fighting with her and Mr. Webber, and then she saw Mr. Gray. But Mr. Gray's evidence was that he saw more of the incident, from seeing them across the room when the women were jeering and Mr. Webber and Miss Hunt were not touching at all yet. The prosecution have criticised Mr. Webber for leaving Miss Hunt, but remember, he's just rolled off her. You've heard what he said, and you might think it was sensible that he left things, especially how they'd ended. What he says, remember, is what the hell's happened here. You've also got to consider the rest of his conduct. He didn't have to give evidence to you today, but he decided to. He wanted you to hear his side of the story, knowing he would be criticised under cross-examination. What about his other conduct? He took himself to the police station. He didn't wait to get arrested. Ultimately, jury service is a great leveller. Normally I'd say there's 12 of you, but there's a lot more than 12 of you. But ultimately, it doesn't matter how old you are, if you're rich, if you're poor, what ethnicity you are. Each of you have a voice. Each of you have an equal say in this evidence. So I would ask you to keep your voices up and speak up on behalf of Mr. Webber. And I would invite you to find him not guilty.
Members of the jury, the time has come for you to consider your verdicts on the 2 counts on the indictment, wounding with intent, contrary to Section 18 of the Offence Against the Person Act, and unlawful wounding, contrary to Section 20 of that Act. Now, you have before you the indictment. On count 1, Mr. Webber is accused of wounding Arizona Hunt with intent to cause her grievous bodily harm, which is to say, really serious bodily harm. In order to find Mr. Webber guilty, you must be sure that Mr. Webber unlawfully struck Miss Hunt with a pint glass, causing a wound, that is to say, a breaking of the skin, intending to cause her really serious bodily harm. In the context of this case, unlawfully means not accidentally, nor in self-defence. If you are sure that Mr. Webber unlawfully struck Miss Hunt with a glass and caused the wound, and you are sure that he intended to cause a really serious bodily harm, then Mr. Webber would be guilty of count 1, and you would not need to consider the alternative of unlawful wounding in count 2. However, if you are sure that Mr. Webber acted unlawfully, but not sure he intended to cause Miss Hunt really serious bodily harm, you would find him not guilty of count 1, and you would then need to consider count 2. In order to find Mr. Webber guilty of count 2, you must be sure that the wound was the result of a deliberate act by Mr. Webber, in this case, assault by grabbing, dragging, and slamming Miss Hunt to the floor, and that at the time of causing the wound, Mr. Webber realised that there was a risk, however slight, that his act might cause some injury because he had a pint glass in his hand or because of the glass which was already on the floor, but he nevertheless went on to take that risk. If you are not sure that the wound was the result of a deliberate act by Mr. Webber, and that at the time Mr. Webber realised that there was a risk his act might cause some injury, then you would find him not guilty of count 2. This means, members of the jury, that there are 3 potential verdicts available to you today. The first is guilty of Section 18 of wounding with intent. The second is not guilty of Section 18, wounding with intent, but guilty of Section 20, unlawful wounding. And the third potential verdict is that he is not guilty on both counts. In this jurisdiction, we would normally invite all 50 of you to retire to the jury room to consider your verdicts. In the first instance, we would expect a unanimous verdict. On this occasion, we will take your verdicts in open court by a show of hands. And so, on the first count, do you find that Alex Webber is guilty of wounding with intent contrary to Section 18? Raise your hand if you find him guilty of Section 18. On the basis that your finding is that he is not guilty of Section 18, do you find that he is guilty of Section 20, unlawful wounding? Raise your hands. And and this is where I call upon my now ushers to assist in counting. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I made it 26 as well. So 26 of you find that he's guilty of Section 20. Who finds that he's not guilty of Section 20? Raise your hands. That is a considerable shame for Mr. Webber, for this reason. The reason is quite simply this, that this entire event has been sponsored by Brooks Edge, which is the overall element of the university which supports co-curricular activity. And they have provided refreshments for all of you who have undertaken jury duty today. I shall have to consider the question of whether or not Mr. Webber is entitled to bail for the purposes of joining you. In the meantime, I should like to express my heartfelt thanks to our magnificent advocates for coming back to the university, for conducting this trial, to our stellar witnesses. I should like to thank the students of film who have been filming this event, and in thanking you, I speak on behalf of myself and Charlotte, because we're delighted that so many of you engaged so completely with everything that Law ID, our co-curricular programme, is doing, and we hope that you will continue to do so. Thank you for coming.